Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Rappter, and today is May 22nd, 2019, which means that today marks the 3-year anniversary of the start of Who, When, and Why. It feels so amazing and so surreal to finally be able to say that we've come this far. This show has been around for longer than half the time that this channel has existed, which feels so great and so amazing that you guys still enjoy this show. So thank you guys so much for watching all of the episodes, or, as many episodes as you've seen. For however long you've stuck around, I appreciate every single one of you, so thank you all so much for doing so. And to celebrate this momentous occasion, we're doing another special anniversary video of Who, When, and Why, and this time we're going to be ranking all of the special episodes of Who, When, and Why. And just to clarify what that means, a special episode is either a mid-season finale episode or a season finale episode. Keep in mind that this is all just my opinion, and you guys have all of your opinions too, so maybe you guys don't like some episodes that I like, or the other way around, and that's perfectly fine. And because we're just shy of finishing off Season 9, that means we have 17 special episodes to rank, so I'm going to try to be as brief as possible to make sure I don't take up too much of your time. And yeah, with all that said, let's just get right into it. In 17th place, we have the movie Spider-Man Battle Royale, which is the season finale of Season 3. You guys all know that I hate this one with a burning passion. It came at the bottom of my Who, When, and Why episodes in general of my list, I made 2 years ago or something like that, and it is still my least favorite episode of Who, When, and Why in general. I still hate that it exists. It's basically confirmed to be wrong at this point. I had to do a rematch for this one because I felt so bad about doing it as early as I did. We really didn't know anything about the MCU Spider-Man, and just every time I look at it, I hate that it exists. And not only is it wrong, basically, but there are a lot of information pieces that I got wrong throughout the entire video, so I just feel so bad that I ended up doing such a bad job with one of my favorite characters and the movie interpretations. So it's still definitely my least favorite episode, and definitely my least favorite special episode of Who, When, and Why. In 16th place, we have Batman vs. Superman, which was the mid-season finale of Season 1. This was the first special episode that I ever made, and oh my god, it shows. This one is definitely the worst when it comes to overall quality. There was barely any new or interesting information said. It was basically all just the basic stuff that you guys definitely already knew, and there was no structure to it. There really wasn't anything like what I'm doing today. It was just me rambling on about both of the characters and just saying, oh, I think this guy wins. And while I still agree with my verdict, there was really nothing new that I added to the discussion of Batman vs. Superman. So while it's still a pretty interesting fight on its own, the video in general was just extremely bad in quality. Overall, in terms of quality, still the worst episode, or the worst special episode I've ever made of Who, When, and Why. In 15th place is Scarlet Witch vs. Raven, which was the mid-season finale of Season 2. Every time I look back at this one bugs me quite a bit because I made some decisions in that episode that I wasn't very proud of. I made the decision to severely limit Scarlet Witch and not use her to her best in order to make it more of a fair fight, and looking back at it, I see that that was a very stupid decision because people want to see their favorite characters being represented at their best, and looking at the comments, it just made some people mad. So I definitely have learned from that episode, and I'm grateful for that, but in general, I just don't like looking back at it and looking back at that decision. It was also a very early episode too, so the quality is also not great, but in general, there are just a lot of things about that episode that bug me, very little specific things. In 14th place, we have Batman vs. Iron Man 2, which was the season finale of Season 5. This one is relatively later when compared to the other episodes that I've mentioned so far, but it has the same problem as Scarlet Witch vs. Raven in the sense that I had to tone down one of the characters in order to make it more fair. Now, to be reasonable, this is a little more understandable in the sense that this was a rematch, so it was supposed to have different conditions from the first episode, the original Batman vs. Iron Man, but still, it seemed like I was trying to really tone down the previous winner and beef up the previous loser in order to make it more fair, and I wasn't really that into the idea of a rematch, so the whole thing just didn't really work for me. I'm happy I was able to learn from the mistakes, but it still bugs me quite a little bit. In 13th place is Captain America vs. Iron Man, which was the season finale of Season 1. Like Batman vs. Superman, this was a really early and rough episode, but the reason why I placed it a little higher than some of the others on this list is because I really don't feel like there was that much in terms of the basics that I left out, and there really wasn't that much that I got wrong. Obviously, if I did it today, there would be better research, and I would probably go more in-depth with their feats, but this is one of those episodes where I can look back at it and think, other than the research, there isn't really much that I would change, I feel, if I did this episode today, and that's something that I really like to look for in my previous episodes, so it's a little higher than some of the others on this list. In 12th place, we have Batman vs. Iron Man 1, which was the mid-season finale of Season 3. This one is honestly pretty interchangeable with the Captain America vs. Iron Man episode because I feel like I didn't really get too much wrong in either one, and I didn't leave too much of the basics out for either character, but I put it a little higher higher than Captain America vs. Iron Man simply because it's a later episode, meaning that it had better quality, and I like the idea of Batman vs. Iron Man overall a little more than Captain America vs. Iron Man. They're about the same for me, honestly, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I would probably watch this one over Captain America vs. Iron Man any day, and I think that says something. In 11th place, we have Civil War, which was the season finale of Season 2. This was the first team battle that ever appeared on Who, When, and Why, and yes, while it is really rough, I am really happy that it exists, because that set the precedent for team battles on Who, When, and Why, and said, yeah, this is a type of battle that you can request for Who, When, and Why, and this is what it could look like, or even better than this. I feel like if I made this today, I would obviously have a much better grasp on the MCU characters and do a much better job, but the fact that I did as good a job that I did all the way back then, you know, when Who, When, and Why was that young, I feel like that we could give credit where credit's due. So it's not too high on the list, but not too low on the list either. In 10th place is the movie Batman Battle Royale, which was the mid-season finale of Season 6. This one is infinitely better than the movie Spider-Man Battle Royale, and while I still have a couple of issues with it, such as only using Michael Keaton's 2 Batman movies and not using all of the movies that are part of that specific Batman's canon, I still feel like I got a lot of the advantages right and overall made a Batman battle that I was proud of. If you ask me, this is when I started to get a lot more confident with doing battles that involved more than 2 combatants, and while I still think it could have been done a little better, I think it was a pretty solid episode to use as a mid-season finale. In 9th place, we have Black Widow vs. Solid Snake, which is the mid-season finale of Season 9. This is the most recent mid-season finale, or the most recent special episode that I've made, so some of you guys may be wondering why it's this low on the list respectively, and while I think it's still a good episode, it's not a great special episode. I personally like it a lot, but when you compare it to the other episodes that are even just in Season 9, it doesn't really feel like it stands out to me. It doesn't really feel like it's a special episode, you know what I mean? So I still think it's a well-made episode, and it still falls above some of the other mid-season finales and season finales, but in general, I think it just falls a little short of being really high up there. In 8th place is Ghost Rider vs. Spawn, which was the mid-season finale of Season 7. I'm honestly really proud of this one, simply because I didn't know too much about Spawn beforehand, but with enough research, I still felt like I got a good enough grasp on him in order to make this episode. And while I definitely know and like Ghost Rider more than Spawn, I had always wanted this one to be a death battle because I thought it would be a really cool idea, a really cool fight. And when I was, told that, I could do this one, I just took that chance, and I'm really happy with the end result. As far as special episodes go, I do think this is one of the better ones. I do think it is more well made, and this is one that I feel like I would do pretty similarly if I did it today, so that's always a good thing. In 7th place, we have Spider-Man 2099 vs. Batman Beyond, which was the mid-season finale of Season 4. This fight always intrigued me. I thought it would be really cool to see the future Spider-Man and future Batman going head-to-head, and because this fight is very different from the original Spider-Man versus the original Batman, I was so excited when I was finally able to make this episode. Obviously, after seeing the Death Battle, it was clear that I did miss out on some of the information, but because Death Battle came to the same conclusion that I did, I couldn't really be too upset about that. Ultimately, I do think that I got the gists on both of these characters down pretty well, and it does stand out to me as one of my better episodes of Season 4, so that's obviously a really good thing. In 6th place is the Fantastic Four Battle Royale, which was the mid-season finale of Season 8. Now, I may be a little biased here simply because I have literally been thinking about this fight ever since I was a little kid, and to finally see it happen, even if it was just on my channel, felt so good, and it felt so good to come up with reasoning that I was confident in. This episode was a little longer than I wanted it to be, simply because, there were 4 characters, but I do think that the research was really well done for this episode, and I got a lot of information that I sent in the video, and in order to get that information across, I feel like it had to be as long as it was. Obviously, again, it was over half an hour or something, but because there were 4 combatants and I wanted to say as much as I possibly could, I do think that that was ultimately necessary. I love the Fantastic Four, and ultimately I do think it was a well-made fight, a well-made video, and I'm really happy to see that it was something that happened on my channel, so yay Fantastic Four. In 5th place, we have Heath Ledger's Joker versus Jack Nicholson's Joker, which was the season finale of Season 4. I personally really like this one simply because of how I handled it, and how I was able to make connections to the comic books. Because while these Jokers are fairly similar to each other in some ways, they are also very different from each other in other ways, and when you start to realize that one of these characters is clearly based on the Golden Age Joker, and the other one is based on the Bronze Age Joker, you start to realize the key differences between both of those Jokers, and you can apply that knowledge to the fight, and that makes the fight way better to handle and way easier to do. And because I was able to make that connection, I sincerely feel like that was one of the best ways I could have handled that fight, and that does really make it stand out among the other special episodes on this list. Plus, I really love the Joker, so I had to put it up here. In fourth place, we have Nightwing vs. Red Hood vs. Red Robin, which was the mid-season finale of Season 5. To me, this was the first episode that I made that had more than 2 combatants where I really thought, yes, I can definitely do this one well. This one always intrigued me because I thought it would be cool to see how far all of these Robins have grown up differently, because when you look at all of them back in their Robin phases, they have basically all the same gadgets and nearly identical experience. And obviously there are some differences when it comes to experience and gadgets, but they're definitely way different after they've grown up, and it's really cool to see what those differences are, and when you can tell what those differences are, it means that you can really do this fight well, and I thought that I did that to at least a pretty good degree. I thought that overall the quality of this episode was really good, and much like Civil War, I am so happy that it exists because it made me think, yes, battle royales are a thing that I can definitely do, and I can't wait to move forward. In third place, we have Sinister Six vs. Secret Six, which was the season finale of Season 8. To me, this is what a Who, When, and Why team battle should look like. It is definitely far better than the Civil War battle. With Civil War, I made the mistake of making it 2 separate videos, whereas with this one, I made it 1 video, and I think that was way better. I went over the basics of all the characters and tried not to waste too much time, and try not to ramble too much about each character, and I think that really helped the video in general. It made it more concise, and it made it more organized. Definitely more than Civil War. It's a better organized video, it was a better structured video, it was a better video in terms of just overall quality, and it was so fun to make for me. So yeah, overall, I think this is what team battles should look like on Who, When, and Why, and I can't wait to do more team battles like this in the future. In second place, we have Sentry vs. Superman, which was the season finale of Season 7. I gotta tell you guys, I almost put this one at number 1 because this episode to me is just so solid. I spent so much time working on this one. I spent basically all my free time on my vacation just working on it and making sure that I was going to get it right because I wanted to make sure that I was going to get this episode right. You guys know that I don't really like using Superman in my videos, but when I saw the idea of Sentry versus Superman, I thought, you know, there's probably a way I can make this work, and I feel like I definitely got it to work. To me, this is one of my favorite season finales of all time, and I think that it really represents Who, When, and Why at its best. It's one of the episodes that really shows how good Who, When, and Why can be. I just think that the fight itself is good. I think I was able to make my points really concise, and ultimately, it's just such a solid episode to me. It's definitely one of my favorites. And finally, my number 1 favorite special episode of Who, When, and Why ever is Thanos vs. Darkseid, which is the season finale of Season 6. To me, this is the best way to cap off a season. An amazing fight with 2 amazingly powerful characters in a pretty solidly made episode, in my opinion. I still have no regrets about not using the anti-life equation or the Infinity Gauntlet because I still feel like that's the best way to look at these 2 characters when they're fighting each other, and this does really feel like a special made episode. Like, I did some different things in this episode, and I think it really worked with these 2 characters. And ultimately, I just feel that this episode doesn't really have that much that it's missing. There's nothing really left to be desired from it, I feel. It has good information, good research, it's a good fight, obviously, and there's a good interpretation and analysis of that research, in my opinion, with good quality overall. So for me, this is my favorite special episode of Who, When, and Why, and one of my favorite episodes of Who, When, and Why in general. I just love this episode that much. So guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a huge like. I always appreciate the likes. You can comment down below what you thought of it, what you thought of the video. If you want to talk about where you would place all these episodes, if you have any strong opinions about that, tell me down in the comments below because I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. And if you could subscribe to my channel, that'd be so great. That would really help my channel out. But regardless, your view is plenty of contributions. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. It's been 3 years, and they've been 3 amazing years, so thank you all so much for watching all these videos. And Who, When, and Why will be coming back eventually, I promise. Just give me some time. I know it's been a while, and I really apologize about that. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And yep, that's it for me. I will see all of you guys in the next video. Peace out.